The storm that lashed against the glass walls of Sebastian Thorn's penthouse was a symphony of urban fury. 30 floors below, the city of Ethelberg was a smeared canvas of blurred lights and frantic motion. But up here, in the pinnacle of the Titan Tower, there was only the sterile hum of the climate control and the rhythmic tick of $1 million Breguet clock. Sebastian stood, a silhouette against the tempest, a crystal tumbler of Macallan 50 in his hand. At 38, he was the undisputed king of venture capital, a man who could breathe life into startups or bury them with a single word. His was a world of algorithms, acquisitions, and airtight contracts. He had everything, and he had nothing. The phone on his obsidian desk buzzed, a silent, insistent vibration. It was his assistant, Anya. Mr. Thorn. Your car is ready. The gala at the Metropolitan Art Foundation begins in 45 minutes. I'm not going, Sebastian said, his voice flat, devoid of its usual commanding edge. A pause. Sir, the foundation is one of your largest philanthropic, and the board will all be there. Send my regrets. A migraine. Make a substantial donation in my name. He ended the call without waiting for a reply. The endless cycle of galas, of smiling at people he despised, of making small talk that was as empty as his penthouse, had finally broken him. He was suffocating in a prison of his own design, a gilded cage where every interaction was a transaction. He needed air. Real air, not this filtered, recycled perfection. He shrugged off his Brioni tuxedo jacket, exchanging it for a simple, but exquisitely tailored, black cashmere coat. He bypassed the private elevator that led directly to his underground garage and instead took the main bank down to the grand lobby. It would let the storm wash over him, let the chaos of the city remind him he was still alive. The lobby was a cathedral of capitalism, all marble and soaring steel. The doorman, an elderly gentleman named Arthur who had seen Thorn through his meteoric rise, nodded respectfully. A foul night to be out, Mr. Thorn. The foulest, Arthur replied with the ghost of a smile. Precisely what I need. He pushed through the heavy rotating doors and was immediately assaulted by the storm. The wind snatched his breath, and the icy rain needled his face. He turned up his collar and began to walk, with no destination in mind. He walked past glittering storefronts and crowded restaurants, a ghost among the living, unseen and unknowable. After 20 minutes, he found himself in a less polished part of the city, where the awnings were faded and the lights were dimmer. The relentless rain had driven most people indoors. It was then, in the dim glow of a flickering street lamp outside a small, 24-hour animal clinic, that he saw her. A woman was huddled under the narrow awning, her body curled against the cold. She wasn't just seeking shelter. She was shivering violently, her arms wrapped tightly around herself. Clutched in her arms was a small, bundled-up form of dog, its fur matted and wet. But it wasn't the dog that arrested him. It was her. Even in the poor light, drenched and trembling, there was a luminous quality to her. Her face, pale and etched with exhaustion, was one of startling beauty, but it was the expression in her eyes that held him captive. As she looked down at the animal in her arms, her gaze was one of such profound, selfless tenderness that it struck Sebastian with the force of a physical blow. It was a look utterly alien to his world of calculated smiles and hidden agendas. He stopped, his own discomfort forgotten. He watched as she tried the clinic's door again, rattling the handle, but it was clearly locked. Small. Handwritten sign was taped to the glass. Emergency vet ring bell after 10 p.m. She fumbled for the bell, her fingers shaking so badly she could barely press it. No one came. Sebastian acted without conscious thought. He crossed the sidewalk, his shoes silent on the wet pavement. Are you all right? He asked, his voice softer than he intended. She started, looking up at him with wide, fearful eyes. In the light, he could see she was younger than he first thought, perhaps in her late 20s. Her hair, a honey gold, was plastered to her forehead and neck. She wore a simple, cheap coat that was soaked through. I'm fine, she stammered, her teeth chattering. My dog, he's sick. I thought they were open. I must have read the hours wrong. She looked down at the bundle in her arms, and a single tear traced a path through the rain on her cheek. He's not moving much anymore. Her despair was a tangible thing. In Sebastian's world, problems were solved with money and influence. But this was a raw, human problem that his wealth was powerless against in this moment. "Let me help you," he said. It wasn't an offer, it was a statement. Her eyes flickered over his expensive coat, his watch, his entire aura of unshakable wealth. A flicker of suspicion crossed her face. "No, thank you. I'll manage. You're hypothermic, and your dog needs a vet now," he stated, his tone shifting to the one he used in boardrooms to end debates. He pulled out his phone. "I'll have my driver here in 3 minutes. I know an emergency veterinary hospital across town. The best, but I can't afford," she began, her voice breaking. "That is not your concern," he interrupted. He was already dialing. "Anya, cancel my previous instruction. I need the car at my current location. Now," he gave the address, his eyes never leaving the woman. He took off his cashmere coat. Ere. She stared at the proffered garment as if it were a snake. "I'm all wet. I'll ruin it." "It's a coat. It's meant to be worn," he said, a hint of impatience in his voice. He didn't wait for permission. Gently, he draped the heavy, warm coat over her shoulders, enveloping her and the small dog in its embrace. She flinched at his touch, but then a shudder of relief went through her as the residual warmth from his body seeped into her chilled skin. The black Maybach glided to the curb moments later, a phantom in the rain. The driver, Charles, emerged with an umbrella, his face a mask of professional neutrality. "Sir, the Ethelberg Animal Medical Center on Crestview. Charles," as quickly as possible. Sebastian helped the woman into the car, her body still trembling. The interior was a cocoon of silent luxury, the scent of leather and sandalwood a stark contrast to the wet dog and rain smell she brought with her. She sat stiffly on the immaculate seat, holding her dog close, looking utterly out of place. "I'm Sebastian Thorne," he said, as the car pulled away. She was silent for a moment, absorbing the name. Even in her state, she recognized it. It was on the sides of buildings, in financial headlines. "Lily," she whispered. "Lily Reed. And this is Pip." "What's wrong with Pip?" He ate something he shouldn't have. "Chocolate, I think. I came home from my shift and found him like this." She was a nurse, she explained, working the night shift at a public geriatric care facility. She'd been asleep when it happened. The drive was short but silent, filled only with the sound of the rain and Lily's anxious breaths. At the state-of-the-art animal hospital, everything moved with efficient speed. Sebastian's presence, his name, acted like a magic key. Pip was whisked away on a gurney by a team of technicians. A young vet, Dr. Evans, came to speak with them in a private waiting room. "He's in a bad way. Significant theobromine toxicity. We need to induce vomiting. Start for fluids. Activated charcoal. We'll do everything we can." Lily nodded, her face ashen. When the vet left, she sank into a plush chair, wrapping Sebastian's coat tighter around her. The bill for such a procedure would be astronomical, far beyond her means. She was a nurse who cared for the forgotten elderly, living paycheck to paycheck in a small studio apartment. The cost of this emergency would break her. Sebastian watched the play of emotions on her face. Fear, love for her dog, and the crushing weight of financial despair. He had seen companies crumble with less palpable anxiety. "Lily," he said, his voice pulling her from her thoughts. "Look at me." She raised her tear-filled eyes. "Pip will receive the best care available. You have my word, and you will not see a single bill. This is on me." She shook her head vehemently. "No, I can't let you do that. You've already done too much." "This isn't a negotiation," he said, a faint echo of his corporate self returning. "Consider it a random act of kindness from a man who has too much and gives too little of real consequence." His words hung in the air. For the first time, Lily looked at him not as a intimidating billionaire, but as a man. She saw the tired lines around his eyes, the loneliness that his perfect suit and powerful car couldn't conceal. She saw the human being behind the empire. "Why?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Why are you doing this for a stranger?" Sebastian met her gaze, and for once, he had no ready answer, no calculated response. The truth was, he didn't know. He only knew that seeing her shivering under that awning, holding her sick dog with such fierce love, had stirred something in him that had been dormant for years. It was a feeling more valuable, more real, than any deal he had ever closed. "Because," he said finally, the word feeling inadequate, "tonight, you looked like you needed a miracle, and for once in my life, I was in a position to provide one." He stayed with her for the next 2 hours. He ordered coffee and food, which she picked at nervously. He didn't talk on his phone or check his emails. He simply sat with her in the quiet room, a silent, steady presence. He learned that she had no family in the city, that she had dedicated her life to a demanding, underappreciated profession, and that Pip was her only family. Finally, Dr. Evans returned, smiling. "He's a tough little fellow. He got to him just in time. He's stable. He'll need to stay with us for 24 hours for observation, but we're confident he'll make a full recovery." The sob that escaped Lily was one of pure, unadulterated relief. She turned to Sebastian, and without thinking, threw her arms around him. "Thank you," she wept into his shoulder. "Thank you." Sebastian froze. He was not a man accustomed to physical displays of gratitude, or any physical displays that weren't a calculated handshake. But then, slowly, his arms came up and wrapped around her. She felt small and fragile in his embrace, yet there was a strength in her, a resilience that moved him in ways he couldn't articulate. He drove her home to her modest apartment building. The rain had softened to a drizzle. As she handed him back his coat, now wrinkled and damp, she looked at him with those same tender eyes she had bestowed upon Pip. "How can I ever repay you, see? Ask it." Sebastian looked at her, standing in the doorway of her simple life, and he knew that the currency of his world was worthless here. He didn't want money. He didn't want a business favor. "Have coffee with me," he said. The request was so simple, so profoundly human, it surprised even him. "When Pip is home and you're rested, just coffee." Lily studied his face, searching for the angle, the hidden motive. She found none. All she saw was a lonely man who had, for one night, stepped out of his gilded cage and remembered what it felt like to be human. She smiled, a true, warm smile that reached her eyes and lit up her whole face. It was the most beautiful thing Sebastian Thorne had ever seen. "Yes," she said, "I'd like that." As his car pulled away, Sebastian didn't look back at the city's skyline. He looked at the reflection of his own face in the window. For the first time in a decade, he didn't see a titan of industry. He saw a man who had, against all odds, found something real in a storm. And he knew, with the same certainty he felt about his most successful investments, that his life had just irrevocably changed. The billionaire and the nurse. Their story was only just beginning.